Hello, I am the artist known as DEROSNEC, and welcome to my weekly vlog where I talk about making music, art, movies, and more. Generally speaking, music speaks to the mind through emotions, and sometimes a song can change a life. I've had quite a few life-changing songs. Unfortunately, I don't have time to list them all in one vlog, but I thought I'd share 3 songs which have been particularly impactful for me. I'm not gonna lie, this was really hard for me to curate. I have so many stories to go with specific songs throughout my existence. First one, 9 Inch Nails, Head Like a Hole. Over our entire friendship, my friend Maxwell, who I've talked about a few times on this blog, has always been one of my main sources of discovering new music. He came to visit me in San Francisco a few times when we were kids, and whenever that happened, most of our time was spent either listening to and playing music, or spending way too much time and money at Amoeba Records, which was conveniently just around the corner from where I lived. He is the biggest 9 Inch Nails fan that I know, and he convinced me to buy Pretty Hate Machine and The Downward Spiral. I listened to them and I loved them, and subsequently I bought the rest of the existing discography later that week. I became fairly obsessed myself, and I'd listen to interviews and watch videos when I was able to find them. The internet was a pretty different place back then, so those things weren't quite as easy to find. Anyway, I remember that there was this one interview where Trent Reznor talked about his musical influences, and he listed a number of bands that I had never heard of. I decided to head back down to Amoeba and see if I could find any of those recordings, and so I did a few wild buys from that list. I bought Front 242's Front by Front, Skinny Puppy's Remission, and 2 industrial music compilations of various artists. That was the day that I heard The Song of My People, and it's defined so much of who I am. So, I credit 9 Inch Nails' Head Like a Hole as my gateway into the music which I most closely identify with, industrial. The second song is Depeche Mode's Precious. Depeche Mode is my favorite band, hands down. In my humble opinion, they have never written a bad song. Sure, there are songs that I like less than others, but still they are my biggest influence and my favorite thing to listen to. I always knew who Depeche Mode was. I'd heard a lot of their earlier music throughout my childhood. However, I didn't really discover them until college. This is when they came out with their single Precious from Playing the Angel. I was going through a rough time, emotionally speaking. I lived in a very communal house on campus, which was filled with wonderful and supportive people, but I didn't really have any friends who were interested in the same things that I was. And Toronto winters are particularly long and bleak, so I was pretty lonely and down in a dark place. I actually first heard the song on an episode of CSI, and the riff struck me so hard that I had to go find it. I had that song on repeat for a month straight. The whole album, actually. Sonically and lyrically, it resonated so well with what I was feeling, and helped carry me through until I could get my head in a better place. But thanks to that song, I can confidently say that I have a favorite band. The third song is called Voice by Gary Numan. I have always appreciated Gary Numan for his innovations in synth-based music, and was intrigued by his unique take on industrial in his later career. There was one sort of obscure song of his called Voice, which I heard on a B-sides and remix collection of his mid-80s to 90s catalog that I acquired in early high school that not only had a great vibe, but had lyrics that were so on point with me whilst growing up that I vowed to one day cover it. And so, I did! On my third demo album, I created a version which acted as a linchpin for the rest of the album, stylistically speaking. It was the first time I had done an album which was 90% electronic and mostly inspired by the artists that I was actively listening to. It was even the first thing I actually recorded on that release, and it's still my favorite cover that I've ever done to this day. In fact, I'm in the beginning stages of doing a revamp of that recording to take it from demo to final. So stay tuned for that in the new year, as well as an accompanying video. What are some songs which made an impact on you, for better or for worse? What is it that they motivated in you? Tell me your stories in the comments. Thanks for watching. Hit that thumbs up button below, it helps me more than you know. And join the Uncensored by subscribing to my YouTube channel, my newsletter, or by following me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you never want to miss a video, be sure to click the little notification bell icon too. Thank you so much again. I will see you next week.